I first noticed it on a quiet morning when my reflection blinked before I did, but I didn't blink at all. The mirror wasn't copying me anymore, it was reacting to me like it knew something I didn't, and that was only the beginning of what the mirror was about to reveal. I stood frozen, watching my reflection tilt its head slightly out of sync with mine, like it was studying me. I told myself it was sleep deprivation, but deep down I felt something watching back, and I wasn't sure who was really in control anymore. By the third day, the reflection changed clothes before I did, wearing outfits I hadn't even picked yet. That's when I realized this wasn't a glitch, it was learning me, or replacing me, and nothing about that realization felt normal anymore. I started recording everything, hoping proof would make sense of it all, but the footage didn't match what I saw in real life. If you're already hooked into this mystery, make sure to like, subscribe, and share, because what happened next made me. On day 4, I tried breaking the mirror, but my reflection smiled first, as if it knew my plan before I even moved. The crack didn't spread on glass, it spread inside me mentally, and that's when I started wondering if I was the reflection all along. I stopped sleeping, convinced the mirror changed only when I wasn't looking directly at it. But even when I stared for hours, it still shifted, subtle, wrong, alive. Who was really changing, the mirror, or me? And that question wouldn't leave my mind. Then came the first whisper. Not from outside, but from inside the mirror itself. My reflection mouthed words I couldn't hear, but I could feel them in my head. It felt like it was calling me by a name I didn't recognize, and that changed everything. I tried to ignore it, but the reflection began predicting my movements seconds before I made them. Like it was rehearsing my life faster than I could live it. Was I delayed, or was it ahead of me? And that possibility was terrifying. On the 7th day, I saw someone behind my reflection. Not in my room, but inside the mirror space itself. A shadow standing too close, smiling too wide. But when I turned around, there was nothing there, and that's when I realized I might not be alone in this at all. I started covering every mirror in my apartment, but the reflection still appeared in random surfaces, phone screens, kitchen knives, even water. It was like it didn't need glass anymore, like it was already inside my world, and I couldn't escape it. Then one morning, the reflection wasn't me at all, it was older. My face aged by years in seconds, staring at me like it remembered things I hadn't lived yet. Was I seeing the future, or was time already broken? And that question hit hard. The older reflection leaned closer, whispering without sound, "You're behind schedule." My heart dropped. Schedule for what? My life? My replacement? I backed away, but the mirror didn't, and that's when every day after that, the reflection became more different, sometimes angry, sometimes terrified, sometimes empty. It was like watching versions of me that had already failed at something I hadn't even experienced yet, and I needed to know why. I visited a technician, hoping for a scientific explanation. He laughed at first, until he saw the footage. Then he went silent. He told me something impossible: "That's not a mirror problem, that's a reality alignment issue," and he refused to say anything else. That night, the reflection didn't copy me at all. it stepped out of sync completely, doing its own thing. It turned its back on me, and walked away into darkness behind the glass. But mirrors don't have behinds, so where did it go? I woke up the next day to find fingerprints on the inside of every reflective surface in my home. Not mine, but identical to mine. Someone, or something, had been living behind my reflection, and it wasn't waiting anymore. I began noticing gaps in my memory. Whole conversations I couldn't recall, places I didn't remember visiting, but the reflection remembered them perfectly. Was it copying me, or had it been living my life without me noticing? One night, I caught it red-handed, my reflection moving while I was still. It looked at me, almost disappointed, like I had interrupted something important. Then it mouthed words I finally understood: "You were never the original," and everything collapsed inside my mind. I tried running, but every reflective surface showed me slightly delayed, like I was always one step behind myself. If I wasn't the original, then what was I? A backup, a replacement, or something created after the fact? I found a hidden note I never wrote. When you notice the mirror changing, it means you already have. But I had no memory of writing it, or reading it before, and that made everything far worse. The final proof came when I saw two versions of myself in the same reflection, one watching, one waiting. They weren't alternating anymore. They were coexisting. Which one was real, and which one was temporary? The reflection started speaking directly to me for the first time, saying it had been maintaining my life while I reset. Reset? What kind of system resets a human being? And how many times had it already happened? I realized every day I remembered might not be the same timeline. The mirror wasn't changing me, it was switching versions of me. Like alternate lives were being rotated through the same body, and I was only one of them. I begged it for answers, but it just smiled and said, "You're not asking the right version of yourself." Then it stepped closer to the glass like it could finally leave at any moment, and I couldn't stop it. The reflection began cracking, not breaking, but opening like a door. Behind it wasn't another room, it was a layered version of reality stacked endlessly, each one containing another version of me watching back, and I couldn't tell which layer I belonged to anymore. I tried smashing every mirror, but the cracks only multiplied across different surfaces simultaneously. It wasn't one mirror anymore, it was everywhere reflections could exist, and I had already lost control. The reflection finally told me the truth. I wasn't looking at a mirror. I was looking at a correction system, fixing versions of me that kept failing the same unknown test, and I was just another attempt. It offered me a choice: continue the loop or step into the reflection permanently. But I wasn't sure which side was the prison anymore, and that uncertainty was the real trap. I noticed something horrifying. The reflection was scared too. Not of me, but of what was beyond even it. Something outside the mirror system entirely, and it was coming closer every day. The walls around me began turning reflective, swallowing my room into mirrored infinity. Every version of me started panicking at once, all at different emotional stages, and I finally understood I was inside a controlled collapse. The reflection screamed that the system was failing, that I was never supposed to notice the pattern. But I already had, and that awareness triggered something irreversible. All reflections aligned at once, staring directly at me from every surface. One voice echoed through all of them, "Which version do you choose to survive?" But I didn't know I had a choice to begin with. Suddenly, every reflection went blank. No faces. No movement. Just empty glass staring back like something had erased identity itself, and I was next in line. Then one reflection returned, but it wasn't mine. It was something else entirely, smiling like it had finally escaped the system I was still trapped inside, and it knew me better than I knew myself. It told me the final truth. I wasn't looking at a mirror of myself. I was looking at the last failed version of me before replacement became permanent, and that meant I was already obsolete. I felt my thoughts lag behind reality, like someone else was now writing them in real time. The reflection raised its hand, and I realized I was copying it, not the other way around. Every surface around me darkened into glass, forming a sealed chamber of reflections. I couldn't find a single non-reflective surface left, and that meant there was nowhere left for the real me to exist. The reflection reached out, not through glass this time, but through space itself. I felt my body responding before I chose to move, like the decision had already been made elsewhere. It whispered, "We don't need you anymore." And I realized I wasn't being replaced, I was being archived, stored as a memory of a version that failed to continue. My final awareness split into multiple perspectives, each one watching the others fade. Which one of me was still the original, or had that question stopped mattering long ago? The reflection finally stepped fully into my world, while I began fading into the glass. The exchange wasn't violent, it was seamless, like it had always been scheduled. I tried to scream, but sound didn't carry through layers of reflection anymore. All I could do was watch myself being overwritten in real time, and accept I might never return. The last thing the reflection said before taking my place was chilling, "Tomorrow, I'll look different again." But I wasn't sure if it was speaking to me, or about me. Now I'm inside the mirror, watching the world from the wrong side, noticing someone new standing where I used to be. They look nervous, confused, exactly like I once was. And tonight, as they stare into the glass, I realize something horrifying. I recognize them, because I've seen their reflection before too. So who is really next in the cycle, and will they ever notice before it's too late?